So my name's Owen Gayle. I'm a former professional MMA fighter, but more recently known for being a strength coach and a strength athlete, specializing in the sport of streetlifting. I have been fortunate enough to accumulate 10 world records and 29 British records across three different sports: streetlifting, powerlifting, and strongman. I'm a strength coach, like I said, under a brand called Winning Strength. And most recently, I'm the founder of an organization called Official Streetlifting, which is a platform offering competitions for people who are interested in the sport of streetlifting. And also it kind of tracks records, rankings for the sport. So streetlifting is a strength sport. I would say it's a branch off of calisthenics. So one of the best ways that I like to try to allow people to understand it is to compare it to powerlifting, because a lot of people are familiar with that sport. So it's a strength sport where there are four main lifts. So you've got the muscle up, which is on the bar for males, and then you've got the muscle up on the bar or the rings for females. They have the option to choose. The second lift is a pull-up. You can choose whether you do a pull-up or a chin-up. And then the third movement is a dip. And the fourth movement is a barbell back squat. So you basically have three opportunities to perform a 1RM attempt, so the most amount of weight that you can perform for one rep. The biggest lift that you get from each of these four movements, they add those together, and then this gives you your total. And your total is essentially your score, and this is how we determine a winner. So the person with the highest total is the winner, and that is how the podium is chosen. It's the most amount of weight that you can lift for one single rep. So you're essentially adding the most amount of weight you can to yourself on the muscle up, on the pull up, and the dip, and obviously on the bar for the squat, and you're just performing one rep each time, most amount of weight you can. So as I said, my career originally started with mixed martial arts. So I was fighting professionally in mixed martial arts. Throughout that career, I was incorporating calisthenics. So just your basics: pull-ups, dips, press-ups. And then in around 2012, I broke my leg in one of my fights. And this kind of led me going down the rabbit hole of getting fully into calisthenics. Just seeing people perform certain stuff at a local park that I live near. So I thought I'd try it. And then I kind of never looked back after that, and fully went down into getting into reps and sets, getting into the skill work, learning planche, flags, all the front levers, back levers, etc. And then I would say later on, this led to me opening up a calisthenics gym in Southampton. This was probably in 2015. I opened this up with my partner, and we had this gym for around 8 years, which we then ended up selling. And then my career kind of changed even more, and then got into strength sports, so powerlifting, strongman, and then eventually streetlifting. I think streetlifting for me was the perfect strength sport, because for me it kind of still involved calisthenics, which is what I loved, but it still had the element of traditional strength sports. And I was always looking for that, but couldn't quite find it, which is why I ended up with powerlifting and strongman. So when streetlifting came about, I felt this was the one for me. And yeah, since then I've just sort of devoted all my time and effort to competing and becoming a better athlete in this sport, but then also helping others to get stronger, to be able to pursue this as a career. So a typical training week for me does change depending on my competition schedule for the year. But if we just take what I'm doing right now, because I do have a competition in April. So right now it's training 5 days a week. These are my strength sessions. But then on top of this, I train a second time on these days. So there's 10 sessions a week over 5 days. So it's kind of like one session in the morning, which is my main session, and then my secondary session later on in the afternoon. And then outside of the actual training itself, it's probably like just trying to increase the amount of recovery exposure I have. We're fortunate enough at our gym to have certain toys that we can use to help with recovery, from things from hyperbaric oxygen chambers to infrared saunas, frequency specific microcurrent, dry needling, cupping, all those cool sort of things. So it's trying to fit as much as that in as well, just to help to speed up recovery so that I can obviously perform as well as I possibly can in my training. So right now, how I structure my training is using a system called Conjugate is what I'm using at the moment. So the way that Conjugate essentially works is there's 4 sessions. 2 of those are upper body. So they are incorporating my upper body main lifts for competition. Because it's powerlifting right now, it's going to be the bench press. And then the other upper body session is a speed session. So that's you still working on the bench press, but we're trying to perform it with speed, get quicker at moving the bar. And then my other 2 sessions are lower body sessions. One, again, is for the main lifts that I'm training, deadlift and the squat. The other one is a speed session. So I'm still training them again, but the objective is speed. So essentially I have a heavy session for upper body and a heavy session for lower body, and then a speed session for upper body, speed session for lower body. And then my 5th session is made up of extra accessory work that I may need to work on for maybe bringing up certain weak links, maybe some work capacity, energy system work. And all of these sessions have accessories anyway. So there's always accessories as well as my main lifts. So for me, regardless of what I'm training for, so if it's a streetlifting comp, powerlifting comp, a strongman comp, the calisthenics would, for me, be something that's always still there in the background, ticking over. So the way I look at it would be I can use my calisthenics as accessory work, because it's not stuff that I need to peak for competition at that point, but I can use it to help transfer over to my main lifts. And then the other option is using it as my secondary sessions. So my secondary sessions are like GPP sessions. So this is stuff where maybe it's lower intensity stuff that I can just do over and over, get more exposure to. So this is where my calisthenics can come into play here. So it could be my second session it could just be pull-ups, bodyweight dips. For example, recently I did one where it was I set a 10-minute timer. I performed 6 reps on each of these 2 movements, back and forth, non-stop for 10 minutes. Done. It's quite a low intensity session for me, but it's just helping with work capacity and just getting more done. The way I look at things is the one that can do more but still recover will get the strongest. So that is kind of how I can introduce calisthenics into my training, but while still trying to peak for a different strength sport. So a typical day in my life, it's quite monotonous, but I enjoy that. I like routine. So it's kind of wake up, same time every day, breakfast, to the gym. I do my first training session. After this, I'm probably then catching up on WhatsApp replies to clients, and then just going through a few replies from my online clients within our training app. From there, depending on the day, I might have 1 or 2 in-person training sessions with clients. After that, I'm probably having lunch. Then it's back to the computer. I spend a lot of my time on the computer, and it's client replies on the training app for their sessions, any social media jobs that I need to get done, and then by this point now, it's probably time to train again. So it's second session, and then I'll probably eat again, home, and then from there it's then dog duty. So I've got 2 Siberian Huskies, so it'll be a case of me and my partner taking them out for their walk, feeding them, and then by this point I could probably have enough time to chill for an hour or 2, and then same thing again for the next day. My nutrition again is pretty samey most days. It revolves around some form of protein, whether that be, I eat a lot of fish, so whether that be fish, small amounts of meat I'll eat, and then rice, potato, kind of the usual, veg, leafy greens, pretty much the same most days. My snacks are usually things like nuts and stuff like that. And then other than that, I'm pretty known for eating a lot of pizza. I do try not to around competition. I just love pizza. It's probably something I'll have once a week, guaranteed, apart from when leading up to comp, and then a weight cut is obviously in effect. So at that point it has to come out. But yeah, there's nothing really fancy with my eating. It's just I try to eat good stuff and just be consistent, and just making sure I'm just doing the same thing, and not trying to go too far off plan. I think the biggest thing for me to be balanced with training, and just general life is actually being organized in my general life. When life was just all over the place, I'm trying to do everything, it kind of spills out into everything else. So making sure like I find the most efficient ways to get things done, I found that allows me to be able to train optimally, make sure my nutrition's on point, and to recover. I think training wise specifically, I think narrowing my focus on one goal per training block. I found that if I have too many goals and I'm trying to do too many things within a single training block, I don't really get anywhere too far, and kind of just end up going around in circles. So if I narrow my focus, get that job done within that training block, at the end of that training block, I can reassess and make the decision if I want to keep pushing that particular goal, or maybe that takes a step back and I bring something else to the forefront. And the good thing about this is, even though I'm focusing on just really one goal, all the other things that I kind of put on the back burner, whether that be calisthenics skills, another strength sport, there's still some kind of transfer that I actually do get within this block that does carry over. So I'm kind of still ticking those over without directly ticking them over, and maybe even improving them, because I kind of give myself a break from just doing the same thing over and over. So I found this is the best way to balance things for me. So when it comes to recovery, I think that the biggest things are like the most obvious things, and the things that I say are just free, and it's sleep. I know a lot of people talk about it, but it genuinely makes a massive difference to performance. And there's the whole of, making sure you get your 8 hours or whatever you're going by, but you also then have to look at the quality of that sleep. So I've put effort into making sure that my sleep hygiene is as good as it can be. So it's the environment in which I sleep and my pre-sleep routine. So making sure, at least an hour before bed, I'm coming away from electronics to lower myself to blue light. And then it's making sure, I sleep in a room where the temperature isn't too hot or too cold, and making sure I try to black out the room as much as I possibly can. All of these little things just to help with the quality of sleep. And then I guess the other part of it is making sure within my training I'm not always trying to just kill it every single session. You can often get lost in, I have to give everything in every session, whereas you need time to kind of let the nervous system have a bit of a break. So it's kind of ramp up, drop back down, ramp up, drop back down, rather than trying to just do this linear progression, which always ends up in going back down. And then I would say any access you can get to any type of recovery tools, use them, whatever that may be. It could be something as simple as just a sports massage. It could just be that. But especially if you're looking to peak for a competition, whatever that sport may be, it's making sure the closer you get, the harder your training is going to get. So the more effort you need to put into these extra recovery tools that you have access to. So it's kind of ramping those up just as much as you ramp up your training. So the biggest lesson I've made, and I think this applies to every sport that I've been involved in, and it's remembering that the strength game is a marathon and not a sprint. If you want like longevity, if you want to truly like hit your true strength potential, you have to think long term and just slowly take your time and just chip away at increasing the weight, or chip away at increasing the progression of whatever skill it is you're trying to learn. And as opposed to trying to get from where you are now to that end goal. Even if you see like people around you fast tracking you, surpassing you, I guarantee in 5 to 10 years from now, they will be done and you'll just still be going strong because you've just taken your time, just slowly ticked over. And I always use myself always as an example. I turn 41 next month and I'm still able to operate at the most elite level in these free strength sports. And it's not like this has happened overnight. This is something that has been going on for 16 plus years, just slowly taking my time, just chipping away. And now obviously I'm able to obviously show that now on the platform at this age. Right, so my 3 biggest non-negotiables. I think number 1 would be surround yourself with individuals who are trying to push standards high themselves. So like for me, that could be, in fact, no. There's a saying that's always stuck with me that someone told me once, which is surround yourself, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. And that's always stuck with me. So the way I see it, if you're always surrounded by these successful people, whether it's the same sector, same sport as you, the likeliness of you also being a successful people is going to be very high. My second non-negotiable would be to keep on learning, just continual education. So for me, it might be like, I don't know, biomechanics, programming, business, it could be graphic design, like basically anything that can help me become a better athlete, coach, business person. I've always found there's always something new to learn. You can never know too much, even if it's something really small. And then thirdly, non-negotiable would be, I guess, maintain routine. I think for me, that's always been a big one for me. I feel like a structured routine is like, it's just a big game changer because it enables you to train, work more efficiently. And then for me, that has ended up being able to actually take on more work because I am more efficient with my work, and train more because I'm more efficient with my training. Rather than how I used to feel, which would have been like always feeling like I'm like chasing my tail and just never really getting through the workload. So my 3 top tips to get started in calisthenics. The first one would be definitely to find yourself a good coach or a good mentor, and just really soak up as much knowledge as you possibly can. Because the more that you can learn, the better you'll be able to implement everything that you're actually trying to learn and achieve. The second thing would be, don't get caught up in skipping milestones. So, for example, if you're trying to lift more in your pull-up, more added weight, if you're trying to achieve that full planche, there's milestones that you need to chip off along the way that will essentially sort of give you the right to get to that end goal. You can't skip these stages, so just trust the process and just slowly build up. And then I'd say the last one is, don't feel you need to stay away from certain aspects of traditional weight training, because there's a lot of things that you can take from weight training. There's many like accessory movements, remedial lifts that can actually help with supporting your calisthenics. Could be shoulder stabilizer work that is going to help with all the different static movements in calisthenics. And this could actually help you progress quicker, more safely, and essentially get you to that end goal, that end skill quicker. I would say the most underrated calisthenic things are literally just the good old basics. Pull-ups, dips, press-ups. I find that a lot of people are very quick to move on from these basics and then start going on to more advanced, crazy stuff. When there's actually a lot you can extract from the basics just by, for example, starting to build up into weighted versions of these, playing with the tempo. There's lots you can do with tempo. There's things like accommodating resistance, so banded work, reverse banded work, chains. There's different rep types and rep protocols, popular ones like drop sets and stuff like this. There's all these different things that we can still do and just extract more and more progress from the basics. And the thing is, the stronger your base of, the stronger your strength of this base is, the more you're going to be capable and the more potential you'll have when it comes to these more advanced skills anyway. Most overrated thing in calisthenics, this might be controversial, is relying too much on bands to get your first pull-up, your first dip, or your first muscle-up. I feel using bands are a great tool, definitely a great tool. It can allow someone to really understand the movement by actually doing it. And it also just gives them that sense of like, oh, I'm actually doing the movement, which is nice. However, the strength curve of the band is very different to what it is in reality. So I tend to find it can give people a false sense of progression. So you start on a big band, you get better, you start decreasing the bands, and then at some point you take the band away, all of a sudden you do a pull-up and you just can't get to the top. So the problem is that the bands can help too much in one area and not so much in the other. So it's just making sure you do other things that are obviously ticking off these areas that the bands are not tapping into, and just not get too caught up on thinking that the band alone is going to get you to your end goal. I say one of the biggest myths in calisthenics is you can't have strong legs and still be able to perform the upper body calisthenic movements. I mean, I'll just use myself as an example. So I have one of the strongest squats in the world in my weight class, and I'm able to perform most calisthenic upper body movements, whether that be a planche, whether it be muscle ups and stuff. So you definitely can do both. Obviously, if you want to be a specialist, then most of your focus should go into whatever that may be. But being able to be good at both is something that is definitely possible. Just takes time. Yes, it might be a little bit tougher than just focusing on one thing, but it's doable. So my main goals for 2026 So my next goal is my comp in April. So my goal there is to come away with a total that would put me fifth all-time biggest total ever in powerlifting history across all feds. That would be the first milestone with that. I have another goal this year to extend the strongman deadlift world record that I already have. Then I would like to compete again this year in streetlifting, but we'll have to see how that goes. I think with my clients, it's to just keep improving my clients and win more national titles, get them on the world stage. And then I think for me also as a coach, it's just keep progressing myself in terms of my knowledge. Like, I can never learn too much, so it's just keep improving what I'm already doing. And I say lastly, business-wise, would be with the organization that I have, Official Streetlifting. So we've been using it to rank athletes, to showcase all-time world records, national records. But the goal this year is to start launching our own competitions in the UK, so that UK athletes definitely have more of an opportunity to be able to compete in the UK, and just kind of really just push the sport more to get more people involved, and offer other formats where people can come and just perform maybe just one of the 4 lifts or 2 of the 4 lifts, especially for calisthenic athletes who maybe might not have as much exposure to heavy squatting, and it's maybe not something they want to do just yet, but at least this way they can get involved with the sport, and then who knows, maybe over time they get more involved and eventually want to go with the all 4 style. So yeah, I'd say that's my main goals.